Before we get into the video, could everyone please subscribe to my Endless Diary Tales channel? Thank you so much. On the way to the college entrance exam with my best friend, I ran into my fiancé Ethan Miller, who was already a college student. He had been bitten by a venomous snake. To save him, I gave up the exam and sucked the poison out, then carried him on my back to the hospital. Because he was treated in time, he survived without any problem. But I lost my voice from the snake venom and could no longer have children. Since we already had an engagement and partly out of gratitude, we quickly got married. After the wedding, I took care of my in-laws and helped Ethan finish college. Although life was difficult, I endured it willingly. But on the very day he achieved success and recognition, Ethan came home with my best friend, Emily Carter, and his illegitimate child to divorce me. Emily told me the whole truth. That snake back then was only mildly poisonous, and even if I hadn't saved him, he wouldn't have died. As for my lost voice, she claimed it was because I had taken a muting drug myself to force him into marriage. Emily even knelt down directly before me, crying, I'm sorry, but I really can't let Ethan be deceived by you anymore." I had no way to refute her words. All I could do was beg my in-laws, but they let out a sigh of relief. "Good. We've long thought of you as a barren woman who can't give birth. You're not worthy of our son." I was so angry my heart gave out. Yet, no one called an ambulance for me. In despair, I dragged my husband with me and jumped off the building in a murder-suicide. When I opened my eyes again, Ethan, 20 years younger, shoved me hard. "Get out. This time, I won't give you the chance to cling to me." Because I had been so anxious to check Ethan's wound, I hadn't even sat firmly, and his push sent me sprawling onto the road. A sharp stone tore into my palm, stinging painfully. But the pain made me startlingly clear-headed because I realized I had been reborn. It was now the second year after the reinstatement of the college entrance exam. Last year, I had missed it due to illness while my fiancé, Ethan Miller, passed and became the first college student in the entire county. Because of that, I had studied diligently all year, hoping to follow in his footsteps. But on the way with Emily Carter to the exam site, I came across Ethan bitten by a venomous snake. Growing up in the mountains, I recognized immediately that it was a poisonous bite. Without hesitation, I sucked the venom from his right hand and then took him to the hospital. Ethan was fine, but I missed the exam. Because of the snake venom, I lost my voice. Still, out of gratitude, Ethan married me according to our engagement. After marriage, I gave up my dream of college and stayed home as a beautiful wife and daughter-in-law. Yet, unexpectedly, even though my in-laws regained their health thanks to my care, they always looked down on me as a mute, barren woman. Later, even my own children believed I hadn't gone to college because I wasn't capable enough, that I wasn't worthy of someone as talented as Ethan Miller. It wasn't until my death that I finally understood. Ethan hadn't married me out of pity or love, but only because of the burden of gratitude for saving his life and to seize my dowry. Thinking of my 25 years of sacrifice and the despair before dying, I was so furious. I wanted to strangle the two people in front of me. But Ethan, seeing me glare at him, misunderstood and thought I wanted to save him. He immediately covered his wound with his hand. "What are you still standing there for?" I said. "I don't need you. Don't you understand human language?" Before I could say anything, Emily Carter rushed forward. Half kneeling, half crouching, she grabbed Ethan's unbitten left hand, her face full of anguish, tears falling down. "Ethan, what nonsense are you talking about? How can you speak to Natalie like that? Let her look at your wound. What if it really is a deadly snake? You could die." Ethan, who had been furious just moments earlier, hearing Emily say that, softened and his voice grew gentle. "I know you're worried about me, but don't worry. It's only a mildly venomous snake. I'll be fine. Besides, even if today I happen to be poisoned and die, I don't need someone cruel like Natalie to come save me." In my previous life, Emily had deliberately framed me because she wanted to climb up to be a professor's wife. She claimed the snake that bit Ethan back then wasn't highly venomous, and Ethan took that chance and believed her. Judging by the scene now, it seemed Ethan had been reborn too and wanted to choose a different life. I didn't put up any show of determination. I only pretended not to notice. 2 fang marks were already swelling red and turning black on Ethan's hand. Coldly rising to my feet, brushing the dust off my clothes, He said again that he didn't need me to worry. Fine, then I won't worry about it. I turned to leave, but Emily was not stupid. She could see what those wounds meant. She grabbed my arm and wouldn't let go. Natalie, you can't leave. Then is your fiancé your future husband. You can't just ignore him. If you walk away, he could die. I found Emily's words ridiculous. You've got it backwards. It's not that I don't want to save him. It's that the bitten person doesn't need me to save him. Am I supposed to risk my life forcing someone to be saved? Wouldn't that just demean myself? Emily looked slightly embarrassed but still spoke up. What he's saying now is probably because he's been poisoned and isn't thinking straight. You shouldn't pick a fight with him. I let out a cold laugh. Emily, I'm not a doctor. If you're sure he's been poisoned, you should take him to the hospital. Don't beg me. I don't know how to detoxify. I don't have any miracle remedy on me. Emily froze for a moment, then quickly recovered and raised her voice. I know you're not a doctor, Natalie, but you're Ethan's fiancé. You have to help him suck the venom out. Are you really going to stand there and watch Ethan die? He might be the only college student in our county. Before Emily finished, voices of some villagers returning from the fields rose up behind her. They didn't know the whole situation, but they jumped on Emily's side. That's right, Natalie. This is your fiancé. Don't you at least know something about venomous snakes? At least try some first aid. You can't just leave him, even if he's a stranger. And he's your fiancé. If you really don't care, that's too harsh. Do you want to be the only one from here to go to college so you'd let your fiancé die on purpose? I wondered why Emily was suddenly acting so theatrical. It turned out people passing by were siding with her, and she clearly intended to force me into saving Ethan. The crowd murmured endlessly, and of course I didn't want to be branded with a bad reputation right after being reborn. I calmed myself and turned to explain to the villagers. You've misunderstood. Just now, I really did mean to give Ethan Miller first aid. But he refused and said he'd rather die than have me help him. There's nothing I can do. The moment I said this, naturally no one believed me. They all started arguing back, saying it was impossible. I let out a faint sigh. At first, I also thought it was impossible, but now I understood. If I wanted to give Ethan first aid, there would inevitably have to be some physical contact. You all know I'm engaged to him. Normally, a little contact like that wouldn't matter. We're not living in some feudal society anymore. But he doesn't like me anymore. He's planning to break off our engagement and doesn't want anything to do with me. Everyone looked at one another, stunned and even more surprised. The two of us were supposed to be the perfect couple of the village, so how could our relationship crack like this? I put on a look of awkwardness. Ethan's heart has changed. The one he likes now is Emily Carter. That's also why she's more anxious than I am. At first, everyone still half believed, but now seeing Emily and Ethan hand in hand, pulling at each other like this, there was really nothing innocent about it. Emily quickly tried to dodge. No, that's not it. I'm just worried about Ethan. Natalie, if you don't want to save him, don't drag me down and smear my name. If you say things like that, how will I ever marry? How could I be worthy of someone as good as Ethan? Ethan saw Emily being mocked and scolded by everyone. He saw her putting on that pitiful act, and his heart felt as if it were shattering. He immediately grabbed her hand. Emily, don't belittle yourself like that. In my heart, you're the best person. Today, I'm going to say it clearly in front of Natalie and everyone. I, Ethan Miller, want to break off my engagement with Natalie. The one I love is Emily Carter. I've endured long enough. In fact, from the start, I never liked you. I got engaged to you because you were a top student. Your parents had died early. You were wealthy and easy to control. Even though I had already understood everything, I still pretended to be shocked and hurt. How could you say that? Ethan, afraid I wouldn't agree to the breakup, quickly added. And another thing, last year, you didn't miss the college exam because of illness. It was because I fed you something that triggered your allergies. I knew you were smarter than me. I couldn't let you pass before I did. And if you suddenly try to give me first aid later, trying to cling to me and force me to marry you, I'll never agree. After hearing these words, both I and the entire crowd were stunned, especially the village elder who trembled with anger. Ethan, you've gone too far. Everyone's expectations for you are all wasted. Ethan was flushed with rage and wouldn't listen to anyone's advice, not even Emily's. What do you people know, you bumpkins? Living with someone you don't love is torture every day. I'm a college student. What I do is none of your business. Get out of my sight." With those words, the villagers, of course, didn't stay any longer. One by one, they left in anger. I, on the other hand, found it all more laughable than ever. Ethan had just cut off his own escape route with his own hands. Emily, hearing Ethan's passionate confession, was smug beyond measure, but still put on a look of mock pity and apologized to me. "Natalie, I know I've wronged you, but I had already heard that line in my previous life. The only difference was that this time there wasn't an illegitimate child mixed in." I lost my patience and cut her off. But love doesn't come first or last. Love itself is innocent. Ethan and I had once truly loved each other. You want me to step aside so you can be together? Isn't that right? I asked. Emily froze, surprised that I had guessed exactly what she was about to say. Ethan, however, was already dizzy and no longer cared what I said. He only held Emily's hand tightly and urged, "Don't apologize to her. Go take your exam. The college entrance exam is very important." Emily shook her head. "How could the exam be more important than you?" Ethan was deeply moved, but still refused her. "Don't worry, I saw the snake clearly just now. It was only mildly venomous. Once I get an injection at the hospital, I'll be fine. You don't need to worry." But Emily didn't hesitate to reject his words. "No, I can't leave you here. I'll take you to the hospital first, then I'll go take the exam. There's still time. We should make it." Ethan no longer resisted. Instead, he turned to me coldly and sneered. "See, there's obviously a good solution, but you deliberately chose the worst way just to marry me. You make me sick." With that, the two of them supported each other and headed toward the hospital. I didn't hesitate either, turning and quickly walking toward the exam hall that I had already missed twice. I arrived early, held back my nervousness, focused my mind, and began my test. Although many years had passed, being unable to take that exam had always been a lifelong regret in my heart. After marriage, I still had the chance to sit for it again. But at that time, Ethan told me, "You can't speak now. Even if you get into college, what use is it? Besides, my parents are frail. As their daughter-in-law, shouldn't you be caring for them? Wait until I graduate. Wait until my parents recover. Then think about your future." I had believed Ethan's words. For 25 years, I never abandoned my studies. Every year, I redid the exam papers from that year. I took those practice tests more than 20 times, but I never got the chance to sit for the exam that was supposed to be mine. All I could do was wait and watch Ethan and Emily become a couple. Because of everything I had experienced in my previous life, when I now faced the exam questions, they seemed no harder than snacks. Halfway through the allotted time, I had already finished the entire test. Still, I wasn't careless or overconfident. I carefully checked over and over again until the bell rang. Only then did I hand in my paper. The moment I left the exam room, I suddenly remembered Emily. Looking around, I confirmed that she had never come to take the exam at all. It seemed that something had happened while she was taking Ethan to the hospital. I didn't linger, but left the exam site, though part of me was curious and wanted to return to the village to see what had happened. As I neared the entrance to the village, I ran right into Ethan's parents, both rushing in a panic. They looked anxious, but the moment they saw me, they shouted in anger. "Where the hell have you been? Something terrible has happened to Ethan. Come with us to the hospital." Although I was inwardly irritated, I still wanted to watch the drama unfold. I pretended to be confused and worried, saying nothing, and obediently followed them to the hospital. Just as the three of us arrived, we saw Ethan being wheeled out of the operating room. His face was ashen, his eyes tightly shut. I was a little surprised he was still alive. But when I saw his right arm, the one bitten by the snake, I suddenly understood. So that's what had happened. His mother burst into tears, grabbing the doctor's hand, sobbing miserably. "What's wrong with my son? This morning he was still perfectly fine when he went out, and now he's coming out of surgery like this. My son, he's the very first college student in the whole county," Ethan's mother cried. "You must treat him properly. Don't you dare be careless." The doctor struggled to pull his hand free from her grip and spoke patiently. "Ma'am, I understand how you feel, but I have to explain clearly. Your son was bitten by a venomous snake of unknown origin. In theory, if he had arrived at the hospital in time, there was still a chance to save him. But he received no basic first aid, arrived late, and even walked to the hospital himself, so his condition was extremely severe. By the time he got here, his arm was nearly necrotic. We were forced to make a decision and perform an emergency amputation to keep him alive. Although we've saved his life for now, we'll have to wait until he wakes up to see what complications might arise. Hearing this, Ethan's parents nearly fainted on the spot. Instinctively, both turned to stare at me as if all of this were my fault. I was about to speak when Emily burst into tears. "It's all because of Natalie. You did this to Ethan. How could you be so heartless?" Although I had already guessed Emily would pin the blame on me, hearing her say it so bluntly still caught me off guard. I darted my eyes at her. "Emily, how can you spout nonsense like that?" "Sir, ma'am." But Emily raised her voice to cut me off. "Maybe you two don't know. This morning on the way to the college exam with Natalie, I ran into Ethan. He had already been bitten by a venomous snake. And yet Natalie abandoned him and went to take her exam. If I hadn't brought Ethan to the hospital, he might have..." Before she could finish, Ethan's parents already thought they understood the whole story. Without needing to hear more, they pointed straight at my face and cursed. "You wretched girl. How could you treat our son like that? He's your fiancé, and now his arm is ruined because of you. You'll take full responsibility. This won't end easily." Hearing their vulgar insults, I didn't feel angry. Words like these, in my previous life, I had heard them countless times. In the first few years, Ethan's parents still treated me as the benefactor who had saved their son's life. They were tolerable, even comforting me that it was fine if I couldn't have children. But later, as their health declined and they were often bedridden, they started believing their misfortunes were caused by me bringing bad luck into their home. They began seeing me as different from them, grew more and more displeased with me, and I, unable to speak, unable to argue back, had to endure their scolding from morning till night. Even so, I still served them carefully, treating them like my own parents. But some people, no matter how you nurture them, will never know gratitude. No matter how hard you try, you can't satisfy them. Seeing me silent now, Ethan's parents grew even more triumphant. "What are you standing there for? Go pay the hospital fees, or do you want to force us to beg you?" I let out a small laugh, unmoving. "So, after all this fuss, it's just about my money, isn't it? You two really have no shame. Ethan is your son, not mine. Why should I be the one to pay?" In the past, I had respected Ethan's parents deeply. This was the first time I openly talked back to them. Both of them clutched their chests, pointing at me, stammering, unable to speak from rage. I pretended not to see and went on calmly. "To tell the truth, I don't intend to pay this bill. I don't even need to explain myself, but I still want to make it clear. Yes, I did run into Ethan on the road. He had been bitten by a venomous snake, but he firmly refused to let me help him. He said he'd rather die than have me save him. If you really want someone to take responsibility, then that person isn't me," I said calmly. "It's Emily Carter." Emily froze. "What does this have to do with me? I don't even know what a venomous snake looks like. Besides, I was the one who brought Ethan to the hospital. At that time, he really did say he didn't want you to save him, but that was because he was poisoned and talking nonsense. Don't you understand? If you had sucked the venom out of him, then Ethan wouldn't have ended up this bad." Ethan's parents immediately chimed in. "That's right. You should have sucked the venom out for Ethan." I didn't argue. Instead, I turned to Emily and asked evenly, "Ethan's condition was this serious? On the way here, he must have already been short of breath, dizzy and faint. Right, Emily?" She hesitated but still nodded. "That's right. I had to struggle to get him to the hospital. If it hadn't been for me..." I cut her off loudly. "If it hadn't been because you didn't immediately suck the venom out of Ethan, he wouldn't have had his arm amputated. Isn't that right?" Emily hadn't expected me to say that. She blurted reflexively, "Are you crazy? If I had sucked it, I'd have been poisoned myself." As soon as she spoke, she clapped her hand over her mouth and stumbled over her words toward Ethan's enraged parents. "Sir, ma'am, that's not what I meant." But her explanation was too clumsy. Ethan's parents instantly turned their fury on Emily, lunging to grab and claw at her in a scuffle. While the chaos unfolded, I quietly slipped out of the hospital. For the next week, people all over the village gossiped about the incident, and at last, I was able to wait for the next development. Ethan recovered consciousness and was discharged from the hospital. I knew this because Ethan's parents were pushing his wheelchair, bringing him straight to the gate of my house. The moment they saw me, both raised their voices and shouted, "Everyone come look! Help us get justice! This girl, Natalie, she's not even human. She ruined our son, made him lose an arm. How is he supposed to live now? How will he go to school?" In no time, a crowd gathered in front of my house. Some villagers who didn't yet know the full story whispered among themselves, "Oh dear, what's going on? Weren't the two of them very close before? How did he suddenly lose an arm?" And they're saying, "It's Natalie's fault. That's outrageous. Even if he were a stranger, you shouldn't do that. And he's her fiancé. She should be thrown in jail." At the word jail, Ethan's parents shook their heads with a show of endless grief. "We didn't come here to have Natalie sent to jail. We only want her to understand she's wrong, to apologize, to admit her mistake, and from now on to take care of our son for life. Yes, our own health isn't good. And now Ethan is like this. He can't go without someone to care for him. We know you took the college exam and are likely to pass, but you can't go to school. You have to stay and look after our son. And the money your parents left you, hand it all over. Our son will need it for his treatment." I ignored their absurd demands and squatted down, looking at Ethan with empty eyes. "Why are there only 3 of you here? Where's your true love? Didn't Emily come?" Ethan glanced at me once but said nothing. His mother instantly grew angrier when I mentioned Emily. "Don't bring up that jinx in front of me. If it hadn't been for her refusing to suck the venom out of my son, how would he have ended up like this? Yes, she's at fault too. She shouldn't have interfered in the relationship between my son and you. But you also can't just because of that leave my son to die. Let him become crippled like this and then run off faster than a rabbit. Now who knows where she's hiding?" I nodded as if thinking about something. "In that case, if you think it's her fault," I said coldly, "then go find her and demand responsibility. Why come to me?" Mr. Miller faltered. "She may be at fault, but she isn't Ethan's fiancé. You are. As his fiancé, you should have risked your life to save your future husband. Since you didn't, the blame lies with you." "That's right." Mrs. Miller clutched at my hand. "Stop trying to shift the blame. Today, you must come with us to register the marriage certificate and then take care of Ethan for the rest of your life." I glanced at Ethan. He didn't object, but his face was still dull and lifeless. I couldn't tell if he was truly foolish or just too shocked to speak. I yanked my hand free from Mrs. Miller's grip. "Ma'am, this is modern society. No one can be forced into marriage anymore. When Ethan was bitten by the snake, I did intend to save him, but he himself refused and even said he wanted to break off the engagement. And there are witnesses. Several villagers and the village chief saw everything that day. I'm not making it up. How could it be that when he was healthy, he wanted to annul the engagement, but now that he's disabled, suddenly the blame is thrown on me? I'm not a scrap collector taking in broken things." Because more and more people had gathered, the village chief arrived as well and quickly confirmed my words. "Mr. and Mrs. Miller, you can't be unreasonable. A snake bite is an accident. It has nothing to do with Natalie. You weren't there that day, so you don't know how cruel Ethan spoke. If Natalie had insisted on saving him, she would only have demeaned herself." The crowd immediately changed their tone once they understood the truth. So that's how it was. We blamed Natalie wrongly. I knew she was too kind to watch someone die. Once when I was bitten by a snake, she was the one who found medicine for me. This was something they brought on themselves. How could they push the blame onto her? The Millers, already frail, were now so furious they nearly fainted as the crowd's voices fired at them like a machine gun. Especially Mrs. Miller, who shouted shamelessly, "Even if my son said he didn't want you to save him, you still shouldn't have left him. If he loves someone else, that's because you couldn't keep his heart. That only means you should save him, marry him, and win his love back. Who knows if what you people are saying is true or false? Now that my son is crippled, maybe you're lying to cover yourselves. We won't accept breaking off the engagement. I want the marriage to continue." I rolled my eyes, about to speak when Ethan finally opened his mouth. "Enough. Stop arguing. What Natalie and the village chief said is all true. I really did say I wanted to end the engagement with her. At that time she risked herself and tried to suck out the venom, but I refused and wouldn't let her. His parents lunged forward, trying to silence him, but Ethan turned his head aside and went on. Mom, Dad, stop making trouble. Natalie, I'm not the kind of man who refuses to admit when he's wrong. This time I was truly wrong. I misunderstood your intentions, and now I want to apologize. Ethan practically ground his teeth as he continued. I always thought that you were saving me, not because I was truly in danger, but because you wanted to marry me. That's why I rejected your help. But now I understand. You knew my condition was very dangerous, and your refusal to save me was simply letting me bear the consequences of my own choices. I've already received my retribution. You must be appeased now, right? I blinked, taken aback. Ethan Miller, what are you even saying? I don't understand a word of this. He hesitated, then finally forced the words out. I've already apologized to you. They say a prodigal son who returns is worth more than gold. And patching a tear is better than losing everything. So I'm saying this because I want to rekindle what we had. I want to marry you. Once we're married, I'll treat you well. I won't be like my parents said. I'll let you go to college. Although I had already faintly guessed his intentions from his earlier words, hearing Ethan actually say them out loud, I still found it laughable. A prodigal son returning is worth more than gold. Do you really think you're some kind of treasure? College is something I'll pursue if I want to, not because you give me permission. And aside from the fact that you've now lost an arm and become disabled, just your own admissions that you never loved me, that you stayed with me only for my money, and that last year I missed the college exam because of you, all of that is enough for me to hate you for the rest of my life. How could I possibly rekindle anything with you? That's nothing but daydreaming in broad daylight. I, Natalie, would rather stay single for the rest of this life than have anything to do with a man like you. Seeing that I wasn't joking, Ethan froze. After all, in his memories, the love I had given him had been unquestionable. It took him a long while before he stammered. How can this be? You're joking, right? You loved me so much. You risked your life for me, sucked the venom from me and became mute. You wore yourself out caring for me and my parents until you couldn't even bear children. How could it be? How can you say you won't marry me? Besides, in this life I haven't cheated. I haven't done anything with Emily Carter yet. How could you refuse to marry me? Then Ethan suddenly seemed to realize something. Unless you've been reborn too. You remember the past life. You remember I cheated with Emily. You remember I didn't trust you and misunderstood you. So now you hate me. But that was all in the previous life. In this life I haven't done anything yet. And besides, in the last life it was you who caused my death. Even if you were reborn, you should feel guilty toward me, not resentful. How can you still hate me? I didn't directly admit that I had been reborn. Instead I laughed. Must be the snake venom still lingering in your body. You can even say something as ridiculous as reincarnation. You know what, sir, ma'am? I think you'd better take Ethan to a psychiatric hospital for a thorough checkup. Don't let a madman run around outside embarrassing you further. The crowd erupted in laughter at my words. Ethan's parents, of course, didn't believe anything about reincarnation either. They hurriedly scolded him. Stop talking nonsense. What matters now is making Natalie marry you. What use is babbling about all this? The more you talk like that, the more she'll think you're crazy and the less willing she'll be to marry you. The more people pushed back, the more desperate Ethan became. I really am reborn, Natalie. In the last life, even though I didn't say it, I was always grateful to you for saving my life. Now I've become but I've awakened completely. From now on, I'll only love you. One arm in exchange for a loyal wife. You can't refuse me. And besides, you've always wanted children. This time we can have them. I lost patience and cut him off. Ethan Miller, you claim to be reborn. Then let me ask you one thing. If what you say is true, then you knew you would be bitten by a snake. Why didn't you let me save you? Why didn't you let Emily save you? Why didn't you let the villagers save you, but instead sat there waiting to die? The villagers, watching the drama, chimed in and pressed him relentlessly. Yes. Why didn't you? Ethan's face turned ugly as he almost mumbled his explanation. That's because Emily, she told me it wasn't a venomous snake. She also said you knew about what was going on between me and her, that you were afraid I'd leave you, so you used saving me as an excuse. She even told me your lost voice was because you deliberately drank a muting drug to force me into marriage. Bookmark. She's a victim too. You have to believe me, Ethan pleaded, his voice heavy with emotion. But I only found it laughable. Whether the snake was venomous or not wasn't just my word against his. The doctors had already examined and confirmed it. And really, what kind of medicine could I have taken myself to deliberately lose my voice? I wasn't someone who would torment myself like that. In my past life, Ethan had believed Emily Carter's words without thinking, using them only as a convenient excuse to cast me aside. But I didn't bother saying any of this out loud. I only smiled faintly. That story of yours sounds moving, but that's all it is, a story. If you want to hold someone accountable, don't come looking for me. Go find the true culprit. Blame should fall on the one who caused it. It's useless to chase me. With that, I shut the door firmly and slid the bolt. In the days that followed, the Millers came to my house almost every day, begging me to reconcile. But I never once opened the door. Perhaps because the villagers' gossip was too mocking. Or perhaps because they finally realized I would never turn back. After a few attempts, they gave up. Instead, they shifted their anger toward Emily Carter. Since Emily had fled, they went to her family's house, causing chaos. I heard they cried, raged, and even threatened to kill themselves, but I didn't go see it, so I didn't know exactly how far they went. I only knew that in the end, the Carters couldn't endure it anymore and handed Emily over. I heard that the two families negotiated for many days, and by the time I found out, Ethan Miller and Emily Carter were already married. I deliberately dressed beautifully to attend their wedding and offer my congratulations. When Ethan saw me, his eyes lit up as if he thought I regretted my choice and had come to fight for him. But when I offered only a sarcastic smile and said, "Congratulations to you both. May you have 100 years of happiness," his expression instantly darkened. Emily's face was no better than his. Though she still lifted her chin proudly, her voice was tinged with smugness. "Marrying Ethan is something I'm willing to do, Natalie. Don't think you'll get to laugh at me and Ethan. Even if he's lost an arm now, so what? He's still a college student, and I'm still the wife of a college student. People will still envy me. In fact, this is even better. At least now I don't have to worry about him getting angry or betraying me." Looking at Emily's triumphant expression, I only felt it was ridiculous. She didn't yet realize that the snake venom hadn't finished its work. Because I hadn't intervened, Ethan had been poisoned more deeply than before. Though it wasn't obvious yet, over time his body would weaken, his mind would grow clouded, and whether he could even graduate was uncertain. Not long after, I received my acceptance letter to the college I had dreamed of for 2 lifetimes. The moment I stepped through the school gates, tears streamed down my face uncontrollably. Only when I entered the dormitory did I truly feel it was real because the opportunity was so precious. I studied harder than anyone else and barely kept in touch with anyone. It wasn't until the end of the first semester when I returned to the village that I learned so much had already happened. Because Ethan was disabled, Emily accompanied him to school. At first, things seemed fine, but later symptoms from the snake venom began to surface. Ethan started experiencing hallucinations. He couldn't distinguish between the previous life and the present one. He grew suspicious, paranoid, and convinced that Emily wanted to harm him. He began to beat and scold her frequently. At first, Emily endured it, but after suffering repeatedly, she couldn't take it anymore. She never fought back, but she chose to run away. While chasing after her, Ethan collapsed and lost consciousness. No one noticed until a teacher discovered he had missed classes for days. When they went to his dorm, Ethan was already dead. The news nearly killed his parents from shock. Seeking revenge, they waited outside the Carter family home until Emily returned. Old grudges and new hatred erupted at once, and together they dragged her down with them in mutual destruction. Hearing the villagers gossip about it, I felt both emotional and relieved. It was as if the nightmare that had haunted me my entire life had finally ended. The villains within it, one by one, had all met their fitting ends. And I believed that from now on I would live better than anyone else.